That's the sound. That's the sound. Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here. Hello, welcome to the show. Please subscribe and please go to That Pedal Show store to buy merch. It's how we fund the show.
Yes. One of our t-shirts says play loud, and that is indeed what just happened.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been punched in the back by someone with large fists.
Yeah, you can't stand too long. Well, maybe you can, but we can't stand too long exposed to that sort of level. So the wonder of modern attenuators.
Yes.
We're going to do this in two parts. This one is called quiet. So what do we traditionally associate with an attenuator? Take a loud amp, make it quieter. That's exactly what we're going to do. And in the second show, which will be a separate show, is the wonder of modern attenuators louder, because there's functionality built into modern attenuators that enable you to kind of do the opposite. So this one is about quieter. It's the obvious place to start.
Yep.
Sort of comes off the back of, we've done shows on attenuators before. Dan and I say it right from the outset, never been big fans for all kinds of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But we did the Celestian Peacekeeper speaker recently and it threw up a lot of questions. Let's deal with the sort of elephant in the room first.
Yes.
Does your amp ever sound the same through an attenuator?
As a matter of fact, no.
It just doesn't. And so there's no point kind of labouring that. Can it sound similar? Yes. We think there's a much more interesting question to ask, which is, given that that's not possible at home or on almost any stage now, and certainly not for long periods of time in the studio, but you like the sound of the cranked amp, an attenuator is the obvious solution. But in addition to that, the modern, and by modern we mean in the last, well, they've been around for 20 years, reactive load.
Reactive load, yeah.
Attenuators, maybe even more than that.
And just to clarify, what the reactive load means, there are the simple attenuators like the Marshall Power Break and these sorts of things have been around for a long time.
The Palmer that we used in the Peacekeeper video.
Yeah, and that's just a simple resistive load. It puts a resistor of a similar ohmage between the amplifier and the speaker, so it enables you to turn it down. But the way a speaker works is the speaker being a big coil and a magnet, and as the speaker is doing its thing, it sets up a relationship with the output transformer. And it's interactive, the same way that your pickup coil is interactive with a fuzz face or the first gain stage. And that relationship is dynamic. When we change from a simple resistive load to a reactive load, it retains a lot of that dynamic characteristic. So it reacts more akin to the way a speaker would react.
Yeah, and the more you attenuate, so the quieter you go, the more essential that reactive relationship becomes important. And I think it's fair to say universally now, the good reactive load attenuators significantly outperform the basic resistive ones.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, good. So that being the case then, instead of saying, does your amp sound exactly the same at low volume? Let's file that because the answer is no. What's more useful is how are you going to use it?
Yeah.
And we're going to start with the Boz.
The Boz.
The Boz.
Starts with the Boz Waza.
The Boss Waza tube amp expander mini, the small one.
The core one.
Which is relatively new. And then we're going to move on to Palmer Super Soaker, and they offer similar functionality. One is digital, the other is entirely analog. And we're just going to explore what you can do with a modern attenuator that you couldn't just do if you didn't have the box.
Yes, nice.
So the first thing we're going to do is turn down. I'll plug it all up. What you heard in the beginning, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, what you heard in the beginning was this 100 watt Marshall 1959 mod into this 4x12 cab that has Celestian G1265 speakers. Well, the magic of Grayskull, power of Grayskull, wouldn't it?
That's it.
What we've got now is it comes out of the head into this, it goes back out of that into the cabinet. And now, Dan, can you explain how this works with the power amp in the machine?
Yeah, sure. So we're taking the actual speaker out of the amplifier. So what would normally be plugged into the speakers is now going into the machine. The machine is taking that signal, and there are two outputs basically. One output is the attenuator that goes back into the cabinet. So it'll take that huge amount of power and turn it down, but turn it down in a way that works with a speaker. But then it also takes that signal and puts it through. The Boss is very clever because it has built-in IRs and some stereo effects and things. So with some of the simpler attenuators, you always need to have the speaker connected. With this one, you don't. You can actually disconnect the speaker altogether and just go through the, it's like completely quiet. But
we'll get to that in a minute, but it has its own amplifier.
Correct.
So what you're not now hearing, you're hearing that all of the Marshall hit the Waza, and then it's using its own Class D 30-watt amplifier.
That's right.
To power the cab.
Yeah.
So I'll turn Dan up, and then I'll have to make some adjustments to the microphone preamps. You saw when we hit off, we were hitting like 107, 108 dB.
Mm-hmm. Of just gloriousness.
We'll bring that down to 80.
Okay.
Like that.
Yep.
Right. I'm not going to touch the amp. The amp's going to stay where it was. Listen, play.
You can hear the
tubes rattling. And as it stands currently, that's just this thing doing its job.
Yep.
I'm going to actually clean the Marshall up a bit because it's not a sound that you love, is it?
No, it's not. I think, I think we should go dirtier.
With the Gamp?
Yeah, I do. Only because
I want to hear some on the edge and normal guitar sounds.
Okay.
The thing I hate about Attenuator videos is that they always crank the amps to maximum.
Oh, and you don't actually
hear. Which is not a sound that either of us use.
Yeah, that's true.
So we'll do it to begin with.
Yeah, okay.
Keep going. As you can see, the little input signal peak thing is going red.
Okay.
That was it, absolutely flat out the Marshall.
Right, 100 watts of... Yeah, okay.
80 dB is too quiet for me, I can't.
Yeah, no,
We're
sure.
just going to go up for a bit from there.
So one important thing to note, what has immediately disappeared? Let's say the sound is exactly the same, just for argument's sake. It's not, but let's say the sound is exactly the same. First thing that goes is this relationship.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things with certainly Mick and myself where we've struggled is the idea of you can get things that sound great and plugged in and, that's great. But there's a fundamental chemistry that happens between the guitar and the guitar speaker it doesn't have to be loud, but at a reasonable volume. When we get to bedroom conversation level, it just goes.
Yeah, and it's not just the guitar; it's your bones, it's your body,
completely.
But we hopefully we're going to move past that discussion because we know that that's the case. We know that that's not possible. It's ludicrous to think that's available in your bedroom. It's not, and I don't mean to be. It sounds like saying bedroom is a pejorative term. I don't mean it like that. We all play at home, right?
Yeah.
So As a tool to turn a 100-watt Marshall into a bedroom amp,
Yeah.
I personally think it's folly.
Yes.
You may as well just get a smaller amp or a digital modeler. I truly believe that. So let's move on from that discussion and say, well, what does it enable us to do then?
Yeah, right.
And one thing that it enables us to do chiefly is this particular machine, the Waza, what's it called? Mini
Waza core.
Core has got a bunch of stuff built into it, as Dan explained. So while your amp can go through to it and come out of the speaker, it's also got line outs on the back which can feed anything from your recording interface to front of house PA. In this instance, we've got it hooked up to these two full range flat response speakers. They're PA speakers, right? But for that, read direct feeds to front of house. You might play at home and you might want to whack it through your audio interface and into your stereo monitors. You might just want to plug it straight into your computer monitors at home, and that would be fine too.
Yeah.
They will do exactly the same job.
Yes.
And the way that we're recording these is these have a direct line out into our audio interface. So you are hearing the direct sound. You're not hearing the speaker sound.
Right. Nice. Okay.
Yeah? Okay.
Great.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a sound that you kind of like.
Okay.
So we'll come back from that really full on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it might be you want to add some pedals and stuff in the middle, but
Sure.
in a minute. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I can work with that.
One of the things straight off the bat is that at that volume, all your pick dynamic is gone, isn't it?
Yeah.
So one thing Dan loves to do, particularly with his telly, is in an amp that's sort of cooking a bit, you can go from clean to gain just using your right hand, can't
Yes,
you?
absolutely.
Where are you there with this?
So it's tricky because I find that the volume is, I'm trying to dig in a bit harder. So without touching the volume control. Yeah, so I can still feel the...
Fans have come on in the full range.
Right. So I can still feel the limiting under it, and I'll lean back on it. So yeah.
And it's hard work for you because Dan almost never plays a fully dry sound. You will always have some reverb delay.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that in a minute. Right, what the Waza Core enables you to do then, we send those two line outs to the two full range speakers. And within that, we've got a load of extra stuff that adds realism to the sound.
Mm-hmm.
So we've added some room reverb.
Yep.
And a feeling of space that goes to the full range only. And if you were using headphones, you'd get it in the headphones.
Yeah.
So now if you keep going, I'll take the main amp out.
Okay.
So it's kind of overblown with the amount of reverb and stuff in there.
Yeah.
But it gives a feeling of space that is totally missing from just a direct.
Yeah. There's nothing on the board there. There's just what's going on in the Waza. So
Yeah. You can edit some of that, can you?
yes. So there's a web editor. You can go on and do all your effects and stuff. It's really clever to keep the size of the tube expander core down. They've made the front panel interaction like as minimal as possible, but you can go in and edit to your heart's content with all the boss effects in that realm.
Yeah. So predominantly these are reverbs that are set up to roomy. I'll flick through a few. I've turned down again, but I'll go back up a little bit. It's quite hard work for us.
It is. Is there cab in there? Is there cabinet in there? Is there any of that coming through? Or is that just the speakers?
No, you play.
Okay. Just give me 1 second. Okay.
Keep going. I'll turn that air level down again. So it definitely gives a feeling of space.
It's using the reverb, like left and right, in conjunction with the cab. It feels nice. I mean, the sense of bigness at a much lower volume.
Yeah, it's
you
essential.
can actually play it.
It's utterly essential.
Completely.
It's one of the bits of genius in the UA aux box, where that's another great example of a modern reactive load attenuator with a load of extra features in. It's not here today because we featured it quite a bit before. It has UA's reverbs and delays in which you can add in. So what you're getting is a mini wet dry wet rig, right? Because your
that's right.
amp fulfills the center function. It's just the amp and the speaker, and then you're sending the line outs out to be processed in exactly the way they would if you were doing a high-end studio recording with parallel effects added into full range.
Yeah.
And the aux does it exceptionally well.
Yeah. And the cool thing about this is that these effects are built in to the unit. There's no external shenanigans.
And again, just before we move on, there's a discussion to be had here about when you're using a traditional guitar amp that is overdriving considerably, the traditional way to use time-based effects, reverb and delay, would be to have them in an effects loop, because if you run them in the front, I'll just crank the gain a bit again, so that we can get a bit more overdrive going. And if Dan adds a plate reverb via the CXM into the front now, it will probably be a bit messy. I mean, it's cool, and the same with delay.
Yeah, so it's that classic thing of the amp is limiting so much that the amount of signal it takes at the input to get to maximum level is tiny. So any effects like, delays and reverbs, normally in a clean amplifier where those levels would be appropriate, they just smash the front end and distort.
And it's a sound. It's definitely
It's
a sound
definitely
you'll
a sound.
hear in other genres of music, but the sort of standard classic rock and roll way to use them is after overdrive. Now, how do you do that? Well, in most amps there's an effects loop, so that's the reason effects loop exists, so that you can patch in your time-based effects in the after the amp's preamp. In this instance, the Waza core also has an effects loop,
Yes,
so you can put them in there in mono, I believe.
in mono, that's right.
So what we'll move on to now is a slightly fuller featured machine that enables us to go a little bit further with that approach.
Yep.
And to add to all of that, it is purely analog. Everything you've been hearing out of the full range speakers so far, effects, speaker simulation, all of that is digital. We're going to go to a fully analog version, see what we can find.
Okay. And we're back in the room.
Palmer Super Soaker. Hello, Rich. I'm sorry it's taken so long to get it on the show. This is really interesting, right? Because it is purely analog. So what you've got is, in fact, I'll point the phone at it and explain a little bit as we're doing it. So, first off, it is a reactive load attenuator.
Yes.
And this button here gives you your levels of attenuation to completely bypassed all the way to speaker off.
Oh, cool.
Right. I think. In addition, because look at the color coding here, we can then apply some analog filtering
Right.
to the speaker tone.
Oh, nice.
So let's start there.
Okay.
As you can see, we're on mid attenuation.
What's that one?
Bypassed. So if you're using a digital solution, you would have a number of IRs, right? Impulse responses that approximate the sound of certain speakers.
Right.
This is analog filtering to achieve the same result.
Okay.
So you can get different EQ curves. Now, this is really interesting. It might not be that you love any of those in particular, but one thing that happens, even with a reactive load attenuator, when you turn down the EQ response changes fundamentally.
Yes, completely.
We get into something called Fletcher-Munson effect, etc., etc. So it might be that depending on your amp or your particular use, you might find one of those.
It works better in that scenario.
Analog shapers.
Yeah.
You know, you might like it for your preferred sound. All good.
Mm-hmm.
Attenuator, shape the attenuator.
Yes.
In addition, you can plug a microphone in to do all of this as well. You don't have to take it straight from the amp. So you can mic up a cab and go into here if you want to then use all the other stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that today, but it's quite a cool thing.
Yeah.
Headphones, if you want, same as the Boss.
Right. So we can turn the speaker off, plug headphones in.
Plug headphones in.
Okay.
Now, our approach to effects in the Boss was to use the Boss's own internal digital effects to add that sort of room sound, the room reverbs, and they are editable beyond that. You can also do mono effects via the effects loop.
Yes.
And of course, you can plug anything you want in the front. The Palmer moves things on a bit in that it has a stereo effects loop.
Yes.
Mono send,
stereo return.
Stereo return. So now we can include some slightly higher food chain items in the effects loop. So what we've done is we've put the Strymon Volante and the CXM78 in the Palmer's effects loop. So now we are essentially in the studio with our Marshall, sending it with post effects.
Yes.
And of course, those post effects are only present
in the XLR outputs or the line
and
level
now
outputs.
We're analog.
Yes.
So now we don't have any latency.
Right. Okay.
This should sound more coherent.
Okay.
We'll see. Just careful if this gets really loud a minute.
Okay.
Down. So, with room reverb added from the CXM, none of that is this.
Okay.
So much more realistic.
So much more realistic. But then we've got the line EQ on the top.
So this speaker tone is basically what we might call an analog IR.
Yes.
Same
for those.
For these. So we've got some options here.
Could you dial in a touch more wet?
Interesting, huh?
It's very interesting.
So we'll do the grumpy bit first. Turning your lovely loud tube amp down to much under 90, as far as our dB meter is saying, is a joyless experience for both of us, and it's hard to love that because we're so used to the physical interaction of the guitar and the speaker. However,
we also know we're lucky boys.
It's just not possible in well, I don't know about any home environment, but it's not possible in many home environments, if very few. What adding those lineouts does is enable you to put back a great deal of that feel, either via some reverb of your own in this case with the Palmer, or the stuff that's built into the Boss, or indeed in the Boss's own effects loop with some mono effects. And adding that sense of space and air exactly in the way the Unit UA Aux does it is an infinitely nicer playing experience.
Completely.
Not only that, you can patch it back through your own studio monitors, whether that's via your audio interface or via just straight into the monitors, or of course you can send it straight to front of house if you're gigging, which gives the engineer a lot of opportunity to EQ at their end if they want to. So that, for me, making your amp quieter is obviously an important part of the job.
Yes.
But if you're just doing that, I personally think there are better options.
Yeah. I think if that was the only thing, I agree. I'd go a quieter amp or a
digital modeling solution for home.
Yeah, for sure.
I would.
Yeah.
Just because it's a more satisfying sound at low volume in your headphones. But the added functionality of having those lineouts to send somewhere else, to treat how you want, I think that's the killer.
Yeah,
that's what makes a bigger amp usable at home, is that extra functionality, not just the attenuation.
Yeah, and the stereo nature of this one, I hesitate to go too much into the analog side of it. There's a very real difference.
I don't think there's any surprise which one both of us preferred tonally or feel-wise.
Yeah. The line EQ curve was epic because hearing that straight in without it, it was, like plugging into a PA. It was fizzy and stuff. But as soon as that came in, it was like, oh, now it's all starting to gel. So, having a couple of really nice effects in the stereo loop and then with that curve and then blending that on top, you've got wet, dry, wet. Sounds pretty great.
Yeah. And certainly, again, in a home environment, killer. Because that's what you feed to your studio monitor.
Yes. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So you get that lovely big sound with the reverbs and things to make it sound like it's in space and give it some body and air. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
As we said at the top, Dan and I have never really been fans of attenuators for the basic make quieter function. I absolutely see a use for this way of using it.
Yeah, completely.
In a lower volume environment.
Completely.
100% with the additional functionality. What we're going to do in the next show is turn it upside down. We're going to get a small amp and we're going to use some modern attenuators to make it louder.
Very nice. Looking forward to that one.
Yeah. So it'll be the same theory, but the opposite approach. Here, the attenuator is making quieter and adding functionality. In that one, the attenuator will have some power in it, and it will add power and functionality as well.
Le grand épiche. Brilliant. Thank you so much for watching. Please go to thatpedalshowstore.com and check out our merch. It's the main way that we fund the show. So for anyone that's done that, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. Also, a massive thank you to our patrons on Patreon for all your support. And, of course, to our preferred retailers, details in the description below. And I've forgotten something. What have I forgotten?
Oh, I don't know. Did we say Patreon? We said that.
We said Patreon. Subscribe.
Subscribe, yeah, do that.
Do that stuff.
It does help. Cool. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you next time for more attenuation fun.
Indeed. Bye.